The presentation is designed to guide the teacher about the learning theories of child development and how to apply it to actual class. This topic will give a general review of one of the learning theories, the behaviorism and the operant conditioning theory, and their effects on children in primary school. Furthermore, it will give the implications for the teacher and the suggestions on how to use the strategy like positive reinforcement wisely in class. The topic is divided into 4 parts, which will give the reader a more clear mind at the end. First of all, we need to understand what is meant by learning theory and how does it lead to child development. The theories can provide people with clear understanding of why their actions and thoughts occur. In the study of Sirocco, theory is stated as how people acquire cognitive knowledge, and learning is the meaning of teachers' conscious effort to assist students in learning based on their own interests and needs. Thus, learning theory is a theory that describes how teachers will apply teaching activities to students in any learning environment. The 3 main body of the learning theories are behaviorism, cognitivism, and constructivism. Behaviorism is a school of psychology founded by John B. Watson. The behaviorists believe that humans produce behavior that is influenced by environment rewards or reinforcement. Cognitive psychologists did not agree the stimulus-response reinforcement process. They believe that the received knowledge will form a knowledge structure that is analyzed through practice. Furthermore, the constructivism is the next step of cognitive learning theory. The idea is that students must transform complex information to their own. Learning must be packaged as a process of creating knowledge rather than receiving it. Then the remaining one is the humanistic theory. Humanism is a psychology perspective that emphasizes human issues, interests, values, and dignity. Humanistic theory is the most abstract and nearer to the philosophical world than educational theory. After introducing the basic concepts of the learning theory, I choose to research more about the behaviorist learning theory as it occupies most of the time through a child's development. Let's first discuss how does behaviorist learning theory develop during time. Ivan Pov is the famous psychologist that developed the principle of behaviorist learning theory. At the very beginning, he repeated the action of a dog drooling over food and him ringing a bell while conducting research in Russia. After repeating his action over and over again, even when there was no food nearby, the dog will celebrate at the sound of the bell. After this, Skinner's theory follows, with the most well-known application being planet instruction. Later, John Watson applied the principles of reactive conditioning to child development and learning. Thorndike Edward, then, based on his law of effects, responses are strength when they are preconditioned by an unpleasant effect. It can be divided into reinforcement and punishment. It is explained as the positive reinforcers give an individual a sense of pleasure. Negative reinforcement do not imply punishment, but rather removal of the unfavorable source of motivation from the situation. Lastly, punishment is typically an unpleasant condition that stifles interest in learning. To further understand more about the behaviorism, we will focus one of the concepts that is operant conditioning. First, the term operant is divided from the words operate and environment. It refers to a specific type of behavior that operates at the environment to produce outcomes. Skinner announced it, and it started with discovering fundamental behaviors in non-human animals. Nowadays, a positive reinforcer increases the likelihood of the similar situation recurring. For negative reinforcement, it is a removal of an unpleasant incentive from the situation. Therefore, punishment is typically based on unpleasant condition that inhibits learning. After having a general view of what is operant conditioning and its development through time, the next step is to think about how can it be applied into classroom. The listed names below are some articles that use the operant conditioning theory to improve the behaviors of children in class. The purpose of the first study was to see how far operant conditioning could reduce bad behavior in class. As a result, praise increases the students' self-efficiency and motivates them to learn. Skinner's operant learning principle can be used in the classroom to increase the likelihood of desired behavior. The second research studied two young children with developmental disabilities and their preference of negative or positive reinforcement associated with gaining access to parent attention or preferred toys was found to be more valuable than negative reinforcement in these young children. It is somehow explained that positive reinforcement may not be the most effective way, but the sample of the study is only two children, so the result is too limited. In the third article, reinforcement learning combined with the praise-mark principle was the strategy mentioned. Praise was still an approach of the recommendation for most of the teachers. Author only gave specific examples about how to utilize the theory in class, but did not have actual data to support the suggestions. The next study aims to recruit 100 teachers and 205 students from the primary school in Kenya. As a result shown, 83% of the teachers used praise as the reinforcement strategy during instruction. 65% used tangible items, games and playing time, and money or points, respectively. Lastly, the final research mentioned that although the reinforcement strategy worked well in classroom, the efficiency is still dependent on the factors like class size, nature of the content, and the availability of reinforcers, among others. Well, after 5 reviews of the actual application of the theory in classroom, this presentation provides an overview of how learning and theory interact. From the basic theory of learning and its 3 main bodies, then discuss them respectively. The majority of the researchers prefer to use positive reinforcement in class. According to the result of each experiment, praise is the most popular strategy. Following some tangible items and others, such as managing the class, can be an effective method for overcoming children's bad behaviors as well. And that's the end of the presentation, and thanks for watching.